All right, everybody. Welcome to another Sailing Doodles podcast. It's been a while since I've done one of these, obviously, with the beard and all. You can see that. I have a new setup here as well for podcasting, which I'm really excited about. Hopefully, I'll be able to do these more often with guests and everything, just because previously it was really difficult to set all the camera gear up, set all this everything up. But now I pretty much have a permanent studio. I'll kind of give you guys a tour real quick. So I've got this thing. It's called Stream Deck right here. And I can select the different camera angles. So this is my camera angle here, and then guest. So this camera right here would normally be on its mount facing the other way to where my guest would be sitting, but because I'm just me, I'm doing the podcast here. I can also put it on both. Okay, that's really weird seeing two people, but there you go. And then I can put it back to me. I can also do a screen share here. And I can share what's on my screen on my computer. So there you go. I'll go over that stuff in a little bit, but there we go. I was just looking at the wrong thing. Okay. And I'll give you a little tour here with this camera here. So this is my camera here. This camera that's in my hand would normally be on this mount right here, and then I have two lights on either side lighting it up, and then the microphones, there's one on this side and on that side, and those are kind of on swivels and balanced, so I can have that up. And then of course my computer where I can monitor everything right here. So hopefully now that this stuff is a little bit easier, I'll be able to do this a little more often and have guests and everything like that. I have Stephanie on the boat today. She's actually got COVID, so I probably gave it to her, so it's my fault. But she's already better. She was sick for like a day. Now she's fine. She's just kind of taking it easy. But with that, let's this one. I'm going to answer the questions of my patrons. So let's get this one underway and answer some questions. So I've got a list here of questions from my patrons. It's like six pages long of questions, so it's quite a few. I'll get through as many as I can. I'll try to keep this under an hour. I barely even looked through it. So, but before I get started on this, I want to go over with you guys. I have, and it's already been released to my patrons. So those guys are already on board with it. Plus, they've had a discount. So they get access to my Sailing Doodles Sailing School. So I'm pretty excited about it. I've been working on this for quite a few months, about 4 or 5 months. A lot of editing. It's 6 hours of video instruction, broken down into seven units, split over 3 sections basically. And the first section covers crew knowledge, what you need to be a crew member, and then the second section, which is the last 3 units, covers everything you need to be a skipper. He takes you for everything. But I can kind of give you a picture of that right now. I'll share my screen with you, and there you go. So you can see on the left-hand side here, this is the table of contents on the other side. So each unit has 7 or 8 lessons in it, and then a quiz. I actually won't show the quiz. Oh, well, yeah, I won't show it in preview there. But there's each one has a video sorry, my internet here is awful. So, like, this first unit is classroom work. I'm going over classroom for everything. And then the second unit would be basic operation, pulling up the anchor when we actually get out on the boat and teach you how to raise and lower the anchor. Boat handling skills, sailing, raising the sails here. And we went actually out on the boat in Thailand, and the girls learned how to. They got their bareboat skipper certification. So we're doing the wobble checks in this one. So it's all the way through basically 0 to hero, and it's got an exam at the end. There's an exam at the end of the crew section as well. And so if you go to sailingdoodles.com, it is right now, for sale. And it's like I said, 6 hours of video instruction, so you do it over a few days or whenever you have spare time, and hopefully give you the skills you need to be handle your own boat. All right, so let's get into the patron questions. First one is from Robert. When does the Mongolia race start? Will you be on the dark side until then? So I am planning to do the Mongol Rally. So if you don't know what that is, it is basically, it is a car rally from London all the way to Mongolia. They say it takes 3 to 4 weeks, and there's a limit on the car. Like, you cannot have a nice car. It has to be, the engine size has to be 1 liter or less, and you can't have paid more than like $5,000 for it. It starts July 17th, and it basically goes through all of Europe, through like Czechoslovakia, or Czech Republic, sorry, and then like Kazakhstan, Russia, China, over to Mongolia. So that will be quite the test of endurance there. I'll have a crew going. It'll be interesting. So that starts on July 17th. I need to be there at least, I'm thinking, 2 weeks beforehand to start getting the car ready and everything. I haven't even bought the car yet. I'm not even going to worry about buying the car till like a month before that, just because what am I going to do with it until then? And it's going to be a piece of crap anyway. Basically, there's no set course. There's no checkpoints. There's nothing. You just go, and you kind of team up with other cars as you go. But it looks like a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. I will be on the dark side until then. We're currently down in St. Martin in the Caribbean, and we will be heading. I'll be island hopping around here for the next couple months, and then at the end of February, early March, we will head back west through the southern side of Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, over to the east coast of the United States. After that, I honestly don't know, maybe somewhere up north, but we will see. How do you go about, okay, so Richard asks, how do you go about selecting crew? It's harder than you would think to get crew. Most people have these pesky things called jobs, and it's hard for them to do. They'll have, a lot of people will have, they have a ton of student debt or student loan. They have credit card payments and mortgages and all this stuff. They can't just leave. So it is hard to find people that can up and leave. I was lucky enough to meet Stephanie in a bar in Thailand. Say hi, Steph. So met her in a bar in Thailand. So, I mean, that's how I met her. And then mostly it's been friend of friends and stuff like that, or referrals. There's been a couple people just met online, but mostly it's been friends of friends or referrals. Traveling Aggie, I'm assuming. How do you coordinate finances with the crew members? Well, basically, I pay for all of our expenses, travel, food and meals on board, any shore excursions, anything we do like that. Just try, because it's a business, right? I mean, so that is a business expense doing all that. And then I do help out with basic bills and stuff like that, because, they're kind of working with me for me. Jeff asks, I would like to base, I haven't even read all these, so sorry if if some of these questions I may not go through, we'll see. I'd like to base a 60-foot trawler at Puerto Rey and Puerto Rico. Could you break down the costs of both slipping in a 60-foot cockpit motor yacht and then putting it on the hard for hurricane season? Is there availability or a waiting list? So I don't recall what it was per month, honestly, at a wet slip. There is generally a wait list for a permanent wet slip at Puerto Rey. You can get a transient slip, but then they charge you the transient rate, which is, a couple bucks a foot, right? So, I honestly don't remember how much they are, to put it there, but you're probably looking at a couple $1,000s or more per month. To put it on the hard, they charge, like mine was 60 foot. They charged $800 for a haul out, and I think that included put back. And then it was about $800 a month to store it on the hard during hurricane season. Plus, then you really need someone to mind your boat while you're gone. So you have a boat tending service, and that's another like $400 a month. So you're looking at, on the hard storage, about $1,200 a month plus $800 for in and out. And then, wet slip, I honestly don't remember how much it is. I'm sure you could look it up. But so keep that in mind. It is... there are marinas around there that might be a little bit less expensive, but you can get anything done at Puerto Rey, so it's pretty nice. They just got taken over by IGY, so we'll see. Let's see here. Bill, the best, okay, sorry. Jason, thank Jason. I know he bought the sailing school course because I can kind of see who buys it, and he's already finished it in like a day and a half, so I just sent him a message asking him what he thinks and feedback and all that, so. Have you had to boot someone off of one of your boats because they were crazy, reckless, dangerous, a-hole, other. I've never actually had to kick anybody off. I've thought about it. There were some a-holes, and I'm not going to say who or anything like that. So I've never spoken poorly of anybody that's come on my boat, and I don't intend to change that. So 95% of people have been awesome. Let me just say that. I've been very surprised by how awesome everybody is. There's only been a couple, and I'm not going to say who they were or what. So OC, I think that's Oscar. I think during a regatta race, this girl kind of checked out, then her face got blurred out through the rest of the whole video. Yeah. She didn't get along with the captain very well of that, and they were not seeing eye to eye on a lot of things. And then she requested to be removed from the videos. So I did, and that's that. But that was a long time ago. Mark Shaw. How do you select your destinations? Captain's preference alone, or does the crew help decide? Are there any criteria? It's generally whatever, like lately because of COVID, it's been what's open. It's been hard to go to a lot of places. Really, we were stuck in the USVI for months and months. And then last time we were able to come to St. Martin, but we couldn't go into the rest of the islands, and all the, English islands were closed, and all the French islands were closed. We could come into the Dutch side of St. Martin, but we couldn't go anywhere else. So that's mostly been that. And then, I'll have a general plan for what I'd like to do for the foreseeable future. Like, I have a general idea what I want to do the next 6 months, but if something else comes along that's pretty awesome, then I'll do that. And yeah, absolutely. If there's some place a crew member really wants to go, then we'll do it. I think mostly, though, the crew is not super experienced down here, so they don't really know where to go. So, but yeah, so it's generally me deciding there. Okay, let's see here. Lance, how often do you run into places where the locals are unfriendly or you don't want to be there? Very rarely. I can't honestly think of any place offhand that was just really mean or nasty. There might be. Yeah, honestly, down here, especially lately, all these places depend on tourism, so they really need the money, and so they're happy to see people down here. Yeah, honestly, there hadn't been too many places where I felt like that people didn't want us there, so I don't know. Oh, maybe the USVI, honestly, during COVID, for sure, because, I don't know, they were blaming whoever they could for COVID at the time, and so they blamed all the cruisers, hey, look at all these boats coming into the USVI. Because if you were an American registered boat, a lot of the other islands down here were kicking you out, so you had to leave. So you had to go somewhere, and the only place that you could go legally would be the USVI. Puerto Rico wasn't letting people in, and so I do commend the USVI for allowing sailors to come in. But a lot of the locals were didn't want us there. They're like, oh, all these people coming in, bringing in their boats, they're bringing COVID. I'm like, no, most of these people live secluded from everybody else, and they sail days to get there, so they're not bringing COVID in. But anyway, other than that, wrong one. Let's see here. John asks, we publish a cool medical lifestyle magazine. Would love to interview you for our readers. Okay, John, let's do it, man. Sounds good to me. Matt, how long do you think you will continue to own and operate the dark side? Any plans to get another sailboat and start traveling around more, perhaps after COVID? I enjoyed the world traveling you did while sailing. Anyway, but yeah, sailing down here in Virgin Islands and all that is becoming repetitive. I agree 100% on that, and that's why I want to get out of here. Yes, there are plans for the future. I will be on the dark side through 2022. It's possible I might sell it in the fall or winter season. I am in negotiations with the yacht manufacturer right now. They've actually sent over a contract. I'm just kind of ironing out some of the fine details, but that'll be happening. I'll probably be ready to announce it in the next 2 weeks or so, working on that. It'll be a catamaran, but it's all I can really say right now. So I will be back on a sailing boat, and it'll be in the spring of 2023, assuming this deal goes through. But that's all I can really say about it right now. BFK, how did you find your cabin mates? Do they seek you out, referrals? Is there any interview process? Is there a waiting list? what's the most typical, time frame for weeks or months or whatever. I think I answered that a little bit earlier, but I mean, some of it's been mostly I'll video chat with them a couple times just to kind of get a vibe, although that doesn't always work, but for the most part it does. Actually, yeah, I haven't had any problems with me from doing it, so you can kind of get a vibe on somebody. And yeah, generally I need them to come for a couple months. There's been plenty of people like, yeah, I'd love to come for a week or two at a time, and I'm like, no, that doesn't really work because I need you here. I mean, it's not like I'm just filming for a week or two at a time, so need you down here for it. All right. When you get back to a sailboat, will it be a monohull or a catamaran? Honestly, I was thinking about that earlier today. I mean, obviously, I just said be working on the catamaran, but what was going through my mind is like, do I want to go to a cat or would I rather do a monohull? I think I want to do a cat if money was no object and whatever, then I would do a monohull. But the problem is the kind of monohull I would want would be too expensive. I mean, I'd want like a 70 or 80 foot Oyster or something, right? That'd be like, my dream boat, or not necessarily an Oyster, but something similar to that, like a Hylas or whatever, like a 70, whatever, who knows? But those are all a couple $1 million, whereas cats are considerably cheaper. If you're talking about comparing a high-end monohull versus a catamaran. So I'm going to catamaran for now. If I ever win the lottery, maybe I'll get a big monohull or something. When flying your drones, what restrictions do you fly under, both in the U.S. and the various other countries? As a Magic pilot, you have all the required certificates. What about outside of the USA? In Australia, a lot of footage you get to take for earning money would essentially require a pre-approved flight plan. I haven't flown one in Australia. I do have my FAA drone license, so I'm legal to fly, and there are restrictions on that. In the U.S., I mean, you just got to stay out of the no-go areas and some of the restrictions and all that. It's not that big a deal. And foreign countries, they kind of default, most of them, to the U.S. type rules. I mean, there are some that are different, but all the apps, most of the apps, like a DJI app or whatever, will have geofenced areas where you're not allowed to take your drone. So there's just rules on that. I mean, and obviously you're not allowed to fly over people and stuff. Just use common sense, So let's see here. When anchoring stern towards shore, how far do you typically stay away from the shore? And I guess you account for the tide. What depths do you keep under your keel? Yeah, you definitely have to keep in mind on that. Because my big props hang down there in the back. I'm lucky enough that this boat has a forward depth sensor and an aft depth sensor. So when I'm down there backing up in the aft, I have a depth sensor and I can see how much is below the keel. It depends on the tides and the swells and all that. I generally, so far, I've been keeping 4 or 5 feet. A lot of guys that do it a lot go down to 2 or 3 feet or less sometimes if it's calm, but I've been 4 or 5 feet, and that'll still get you pretty close to shore in most cases. So let's see here. Where in the world would you do a bareboat sailboat charter in February, President's Week? Give the lockdowns. You're experiencing boaters, but not you were experienced boaters, but not so experienced sailing, looking for anything challenging. We did the BVI last February and loved it. BVI is great. I don't know what's going to happen with the lockdowns. Honestly, they were, I imagine there'll be new restrictions any day now from the amount of people are getting COVID. But the good news is that a lot less people are actually getting sick. They're getting COVID and getting sick, but they're not going to the hospital and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully cooler minds prevail. They don't just do a knee-jerk reaction and just shut everything down. I mean, it's one thing if people are actually getting COVID. It's another thing if they're getting sick. But I don't know the details well enough to talk about that. I don't know if people really are enough getting sick. So whatever. I'm not a doctor. But I'd say just for ease of getting to, honestly, I know I've been there a couple times, but Belize is really easy to get to, and they're pretty lax with their restrictions. I don't know what their requirements are in Bahamas, but if you're doing February, no, maybe not February in Bahamas. That'd be kind of cold and windy. You're getting on the edge there. But Belize would definitely be good. Anywhere down in the Caribbean, like the Virgin Islands and all that south, would be good. I don't know what restrictions you're gonna fight on that, but that's where we got to live in right now. What kind of fuel range does the dark side get on fuel tanks? It looked painful to watch you fill her up a few weeks ago. Do you know how many miles per gallon you get? I don't know about miles per gallon. Well, okay, miles per gallon. It's about 15 gallons per hour and 10 knots, so, less than 1 mile per gallon. As far as range, I can hold 1,300 gallons, so you're looking at like 800 miles. But then that's not really the case because you got to run generator, and then you need reserve. So probably like 600 miles. So that would be in this boat. Would be 2 days and some change. It'd be is that right? 480. Almost 2.5 days to go 600 miles. Which is pretty fast, right? Yeah, that'd be the answer to that one. Let's see here. In your previous podcast, you mused that you might get a catamaran on your next boat in the future across Pacific. Will you call it Naughty Cats? No, that's a good name. I like it. But I think the name for the new boat that I get will be Maverick in honor of Maverick, my dog. So, he passed away way too soon. But, yeah, that'll be his name, or the name of the next catamaran. Schmoops, what's up, guys? Eric and Jen. You started a YouTube channel and not only grown Sailing Doodles channel, but a whole brand of doodles channels and podcasts. How does it feel to have basically built a successful multiple income business out of your brand? And how different is it from what you ever intended to do? Oh, it was definitely way different than what I intended to do. I just was doing, I started off doing the YouTube hopefully to cover some costs, right? Maybe make up a little bit. I never knew it would get crazy like it is now. I was just doing it until I was going to sail until I ran out of money and then get a job on a boat as crew. But I will say I need a clone. That's been my motto, is because I wish I could because I basically have Sailing Doodles. So if you're watching, I have Sailing Doodles, which you're probably very familiar with. Flying Doodles has about 90,000 subscribers. It's about airplanes. I've started filming for that again and posting videos there. I've got another 5 in the can, ready to edit, and I'll be filming more when I get a chance. And then I have another show called Glamping Doodles, which is about the RV lifestyle. I probably have another 5 or 6 videos in that. I film for Glamping and Flying Doodles at the same time because they're both based in the U.S. Sailing Doodles, obviously, can't really do that. So, I'll be out here sailing for 2 or 3 months, and then I'll go home for a month, jump in the RV, and go film and for both of those channels, and then go back to the boat and continue again. Eventually, the long-term plan would be somebody take those over, but, we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, who knew it would become a thing? Pretty exciting that it is. And thank you guys for watching and making it all possible. I appreciate you. All right. On to the next question here. Captain Bob. I like when you put a date on the start of each video. Keeps my brain in perspective of where and when you are. What requirements do you have and ask for any crew members that join you? Just be cool, I don't know, just be easy to get along with, friendly. There's no set, requirement. Be willing to help out and stuff like that. It is kind of annoying, culinary-wise sometimes, with different, there's been a lot of vegetarians and vegans lately, which is, I guess that's what everybody's doing these days, but I'm not, and it's kind of annoying having to we work around it. It's like if we're cooking some kind of pasta, we'll cook a chicken breast separately, you know what I mean? And then they can put some vegetables in there, but, whatever. It is what it is. But, yeah, there's no requirements, really. Last question from him. Oh, sorry. No, never mind. Wrong. That was referring to the old question. Keith. This may have been asked and answered, but do you plan on putting solar on the dark side or solar? I had it all lined up for a guy to do it in Puerto Rico while my boat was on the hard, and then he left Puerto Rico, and it just never happened. I think if I were going to keep the dark side long term, I would definitely put solar on it, but the problem is this boat's the design of this boat is that designed to always have a generator or be hooked up to shore power. It's always has to have AC power, and that's because of the refrigerators here, and a lot of the other battery chargers and stuff like that are all run on AC power. So there is no inverter, and there is no house battery bank. So basically, you install solar. That's easy enough, right? I could put 2,000 watts of solar up there, no problem. Wouldn't be that hard. The hard part is, got to bring all that down. I got to install a inverter charger, and I got to install a new battery bank for all that stuff. And then the inverter charger needs to be pretty beefy, a couple, at least 4,000 or 5,000 watts to handle all the refrigeration and everything. So it's not as easy as said. It's not like, because most sailboats are designed to run off, a house battery bank and then have an inverter, whereas this one was not. So it'd have to be retrofitted, and it'd be a lot of pain in the butt and very expensive to do, I'm sure. But I, like I said, if I end up getting this new boat next year, or I can say next year now, then I'll be selling her probably at the end of the summer or sometime around late fall. We'll see, sometime between that time frame. Let's see here. My question, similar to BFK, what is your vetting process for crew? You either do a good job or you have been lucky so far. Your crewmates have been pretty great. Yeah, I agree. I think I kind of have answered that. I have been lucky as well. It'd be nice to have a better vetting program sometimes, but I think I've been lucky so far. And you hear my other crewmate coughing with COVID right now. Yeah, she's over there. Anyway, you're not coughing. I'm curious, is there, wow, a lot of guys asking like the crew and everything. I'm curious, is there a service to find crew for channels like yours, or do you find them yourself? Also, do you pay their way and stuff? Yeah, I kind of answered all that already. There is no service. It's just got to find them the way you can. Okay, and that was from Mike and the other. Sorry if I've forgotten to answer or call out your names when reading the question. Let's see here. Christopher, do you plan to switch to 4K videos? It'd be great, but the amount of data you're talking about is insane. And for now, no. I think most people watch this either. Most people are watching this streaming on a TV or a phone. And generally speaking, the best you're going to get resolution-wise anyway is 1080p on either of those. I'm sure if you have a fast internet connection and a really nice TV, you can do 4K on your TV. But the problem is, it's basically 4 times the data, and I've already got so much data. And it'd be one thing if I had a computer at my house and I had a bunch of hard drives and I had a, fiber optic, internet thing. But no, I'm using the Marina Wi-Fi here right now is literally 5 megabits per second. It took me 24 hours to upload a 2 gig video yesterday. So no to 4K right now. Maybe when Elon gets his act together and we have Starlink, maybe you'll see 4K at that point. But no for now. And I'm pretty sure most of the other channels are not doing 4K. I don't know. I hardly ever watch them, but most of the other sailing channels, because that's the main issue. All right, let's see here. All right, long one here from Alex. I'm interested in the difference between the dark side and sailing on a passage. When you are sailing, there's always some trimming to do. You need to account for leeway. On a powerboat, although you expect to have some leeway issues due to its flat-sidedness, there'd be not much else to do. How do you find what do you do during the difference there? All right, so honestly, unless you're actually in a race, you're not trimming your sails the whole time. You might trim, especially if you're going downwind or whatever, you look up, like, okay, sails look good. I'm doing 7 knots, great. And you look up 20 minutes later, sails, yeah, that's pretty close. Come back 20 minutes later, yeah, it's okay. And then 20 minutes later, okay, maybe I'll adjust it now. But no, you're not. On a passage, you're not trimming sails the entire time unless you're just trying to set a new speed record or you're racing. But generally cruising is just set it and forget it unless you need to make a major change. Because if you did, I mean, gosh, you'd just be there the whole time. I mean, you know, on a 3 or 4 day passage, you want to sit there and mess with the sails 20 times a day? Not really. And then for, you know, underway on the dark side, just, yeah, I mean, I just kind of set a GPS course and it follows it. So it might crab into it, but it's following the course. So, let's see here. Mike asks, did the folks who bought your monohull ever get it refitted and back in the water? Yeah, they did. It's floating right now, as far as I know. It's up there in North Carolina, so they did well with it. I would have loved to. I just didn't want to have to spend 6 months in a yacht yard working on it. I could have done it, but I just didn't want to. And that's not my channel. My channel's not like how to build or repair a boat. It's how to go cruising and have fun. So, do you have solar? Nope. Am I going to refit it? Nope. I kind of answered that one earlier. Jason asked, what do you use to edit your videos? You've gone over your camera gear in the past, but what about video editing? Mostly Adobe Premiere Pro, and then, you know, just the Adobe Creative Suite. I used to, when I first started out, use Filmora's Wondershare. It's really simple and easy to use, but there's some limitations. Like there's some things you just can't do as easily. But with Wondershare, you also get to do transitions and titles and all that stuff way easier than it is in Premiere Pro. So I use Premiere Pro for those things, and it works out pretty well. Let's see here. Ed, I would think the cost of installing solar with a large enough inverter to carry the house loads on the dark side would be very expensive. Yes, I kind of mentioned that earlier. You've mentioned in the past about selling the boat for a trans-Pacific passage in the future. Do you think the cost of solar needed is too expensive for such a short duration, or do you think you could recoup the cost for a future sale of the boat? Yeah, I mean, you're looking at $20,000-$30,000 to do all that on this boat, maybe more, because you need a battery bank, and you need a pretty big battery bank, and because of the limitations on where you could put it, it's got to be lithium, and so you're looking at, I mean, $5,000-$6,000 or more to install the solar panels. Yeah, I get it. If you're installing 2,000 watts, they're like $1 a watt these days. So that's $2,000. Yeah, but you got to install it all. You got to put the rails up. You got to run the wiring. You got to do all that. So you're looking at $5,000 or $6,000 there. The inverter is going to be $3,000 or $4,000. Then you got to install it. Then you got to run all the cabling to it. Then you got to, then you got to build a battery bank, and that's going to be $10,000 for a battery bank, lithium ion. So yeah, you're looking at $30,000 to do that, and I don't know if I'd recoup my costs on that, so I don't think I'm gonna do it. Let's see here, man. A lot of these are kind of similar. Are we getting back on a sailboat anytime soon? Yep. Okay, that was from Ron. Sean, basically asking the battery question. So Steve here, love to hear your insights on how you balance your 3 YouTube channels, finding crewmates, keeping up with your family, especially your dad, and knowing Goose is aging. Well, I see them as much as I can. I'll go home every about 3 months, like I said, and I'll be home for a week and then jump on the RV for a month and then come back to the boat. So I see him every 2 or 3 months, and took Goose with me on the latest RV trip. So he is back on Glamping Doodles. All right, so last question here from Michael. We're headed to Belize in 3 weeks, for 3 weeks on a cat. Wow, that's a great trip. 4 couples per week. Okay, so you're taking a bunch of different ones. Wondering if you had any issues with navigating the obstacles, or were the charts and navigation system accurate? If you're going to be down there, it'd be great to meet you. Love all your videos. Yeah, the charts suck. Yeah, have fun. Seriously, they're bad. The Belize charts are some of the worst I've seen. I would highly recommend getting the Navionics app on your phone. Because I've been on 2 charter boats down there. One of them is even relatively new, and the charts they had on their chart plotter were awful. I mostly used my phone for navigating, because you can do, they have your tip. So the Navionics, you can either switch between the actual government charts or the sonar charts that like other boats will get up and report back. Keep in mind, the sonar charts are not always accurate, but there's a ton of stuff out there that's not charted. You just gotta pay attention. You know, gotta pay attention. That's all there is to it, man. I'm sorry. I wish I had more information for you, but the charts do suck. But it is a great cruising ground, so I'm sure you will enjoy it. All right, guys. We'll hope that answered all your questions there. If you're not a patron and you want your questions answered, go to patreon.com/sailingdoodles. It's the patrons that make this channel possible. Thank you guys so much for being patrons and asking these questions. I like doing this. The next one will have Steph on here to help answer some too. So as soon as she stops coughing. Nope.
I'm almost done coughing.
She's almost done coughing. No, she's great. But anyway, all right. Thank you guys for watching, and check out the Sailing Doodles Sailing School. Go to sailingdoodles.com. It's there, and learn how to sail, and we'll see you out there sometime. Bye, guys.